It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Benny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
Y'all, that's what we do each and every single week. Benny Hardy here. Fortunately, TB is a little bit under the weather. He's not feeling good, so I hope he gets to feeling better and back to his normal self. We can have him back next week. I know he was back home in Louisville to see Mama B and see the girls over the weekend and everything. So hope that went well. Hate that he's not feeling good now. We do have a guest, as y'all can see when you watch this episode on Roku and on YouTube, thanks to the BS3 Network. We do have a guest jumping in right off the rip. Followed this gentleman on the Twitter streets for a long time. The man's a photographer. The man can sing. The man is we have to get into all that too real quick. The man is a hardcore Denver Nuggets fan, which as y'all know, Terry is diehard purple and gold. So we were bringing him on to offset all that Lakerness, but he's not here.
The Lakerness.
Jeremy Nicolls, man, what's going on, brother?
Hey, chilling, bro. It's been a long day for sure, but you know what, man? Ain't nothing better than talking some sports to kind of cool the day down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I forgot to mention, he hosts a co-host on the Denver Hoops and Dreams podcast on Odyssey. So this man knows his Denver Nuggets, number one seed in the West.
Oh, yeah.
You know, giving us these late nights as East Coasters staying up and watching that Mountain Central Time, West Coast stuff.
Yeah.
But unbelievable game last night, man. Let me just let you speak about it, man. Goodness.
Nah, it was a roller coaster game for sure. I mean, of course, the first three quarters, the Nuggets came out swinging. I think they punched the Lakers in the mouth just straight up, from tip off. And Nikola Jokic just decided he wanted to show the world really how good he is, because I think going into the playoffs and throughout the season, there's still a lot of people, and you even hear it now. Like you hear a lot of people on these different shows who they say, wow, I didn't realize how good this guy really was, because most of them don't actually watch him play. They just, because, we talked about like the East Coast and the time difference and stuff, most people are not even necessarily taking the time to watch the Nuggets. They're just hearing about it, or they're assuming because they're like, I ain't taking them seriously. No, it's got to be Joel Embiid, or it's got to be this guy or this guy. But I saw a lot of people, man, even this morning recapping the game on ESPN, FS1, like people who have been like Jokic's main detractors, right? And a lot of these guys are changing their tune right now. It's just pretty interesting to see, but it was an excellent game for the Nuggets. I know the game did get pretty close in the end because the Lakers did make adjustments. That's the name of the game. That's what the playoffs are all about, but the Nuggets found a way to win that game overall and, go up 1-0 in the series. So I'm excited, man. I think game 2 is going to be a whole lot of fun. I know that the Lakers are going to try to play that same Rui Hachimura card, and we going to see. We got a counterplay for that too. I got a counterplay for it, but I need to call Michael Malone and let him know what to do,
That's right. That's right. I think he waiting on you, man. He waiting for that knowledge.
Oh, yeah. I got him.
So, yeah, game 1 goes to the Lakers. Game 2 is coming up.
Oh, the Nuggets.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, man. Yeah. Look, game 2 to game 1 to Denver.
Yeah.
And y'all were, on fire. They couldn't stop you. And like you said, it got closer than you thought.
Oh, yeah.
The Lakers kept coming. Speaking of, just a sidebar, how do you think the Wizards fans feel seeing Hachimura do that? They got to be sick to their stomach watching a guy that
away. That's usually how it is, right? You see a guy who was playing a certain way for a particular team, and then all of a sudden he goes to another franchise and he's actually getting minutes. Because I used to watch a lot of Wizards games and stuff. I'm a Nuggets fan, but I like Monte Morris and these guys who were on the Nuggets and they went over to the Wizards and whatnot. So to see certain guys like that, it's just interesting the way that the Nuggets are set up, because we got Thomas Bryant, who was also on the Wizards, right?
Yeah.
I know most people know him recently because he was on the Lakers and he had a couple really good games for them. But I'm sure the fans are looking at it like, man, what happened, because Rui didn't get a whole lot of minutes in Washington. He had some moments. I know he was injured for a little while as well. And then when he came back, he just was not necessarily in the rotation. So, hey man, this league is all about opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all it takes to really show what a player can do. I mean, look at what's happening with Austin Reeves right now. I mean, who knew this kid was a baller like that? You know, like he you know, he came in and he had some, you know, he had potential, but for him to be balling like this on the biggest stage, wow, you know, so, hey, it's the playoffs, man.
Exactly. So yeah, I was just always chuckle with, you know, the Wizards perpetually rebuilding, and then a piece goes elsewhere and is just showing out. But being the Nuggets fan you are, we just saw this last series against the Suns, where at the Ball Arena now, which used to be the Pepsi Center, which I'm still getting used to the ball jar whole thing. But hey,
oh yeah, I got you.
Whichever company brings that money, that's who you're gonna roll with. I understand that. You jump up 2-0 on Phoenix real quick, and I mean, looked like you got them KO'd, and then of course the scene shifts to Phoenix, and then they protect home court. This been a home court thing with you and the Lakers. You know, both teams protected home court in the regular season. So you think Denver learned anything? Number one team in the West, and when let's say they do go up 2-0 and handle business tomorrow, going to LA, what have we learned? Have we picked up some killer instinct to not let teams undo all that work you do at home to get a 2-0 lead?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you are absolutely correct. I mean, both the Nuggets and the Lakers are undefeated at home in the postseason, so obviously that's a big deal. Home court advantage is really an advantage right now, right? But going back to last series, because you brought it up, yeah, I mean, you start off 2-0, protect home court. You know, the Suns tied things up in Phoenix, but what did the Nuggets do immediately after that? They went back home. And then, so they're up 3-2, and then they go into Phoenix and destroy them, right? Like, so it's not to say that the Nuggets can't do it, because I think now, because of what they did in Game 6, I think they have the right mentality now. They have a reference point. They got a place to go back to say, look what we did. Look what we did in Game 6 to a team with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant playing at an extremely high level. Yes, they didn't have, you know, DeAndre Ayton, but let's be real, he wasn't making a difference anyway. Yeah. Chris Paul was a part of Game 1 and 2, which they lost. So it's like, you can't necessarily say, oh, well, because Chris Paul didn't play. No, Chris Paul was also a part of the team that got blown out in Game 1, right? So it's like the excuses with that, I don't want to necessarily hear it, truth be told, because if I remember correctly, the Phoenix Suns benefited from a lot of injured teams in 2021. But I digress. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to leave the Phoenix Suns fans alone today. But like I think the Nuggets have the right mentality now. I think because they've been through stuff. It's all about experience, right? So like, even if the Nuggets were in a situation that they go down 3-1, think about it. They go back mentality, like their mentality will be like, listen, we did this twice in the bubble. So we can't go down on ourselves and say, hey, we can't do this. No, they have to be able to have the confidence. And in order to get that, you gotta do it first. So knowing that they were able to go on the road in Phoenix in a very hostile environment, because that Arizona crowd, man, them boys don't play no games over there. But they went in and they just handled their business, punched them in the mouth, and they destroyed them on their home floor. So honestly, LA is a different beast. I get that. Totally understood. But I still have confidence. And I'll tell you this, if the Nuggets do win Game 2 and they go up 2-0, I would not be surprised if they win at least one of those next 2 games in LA. I would not be surprised.
See, that's why I ask you what I ask you based on what just happened in Phoenix. Up 2-0, bam, it's 2-2.
Right.
Now, you like you said, what you went through, learn from that, and then if that happens, they do go out and split in LA, and it's 3-1 based on, hey, we just had a team, you know, in a 0-2 hole and couldn't hold it. We learned we're not going to let LA crawl all the way back. So that's why I wanted to ask you, because you closer to them and got the pulse of the team more than I do.
Yeah.
Speaking of injuries, though, which is kind of always the case, but I think it's just been magnified more this year. I mean, Game 1 of the first round, how many people got injured in Game 1 this playoffs alone?
Right.
This might sound crazy, but I said it the other day, we could have been potentially talking about a Milwaukee three-peat. They won it. The next year, Middleton is hurt. That kind of derails them.
Right.
This year, Giannis is hurt, and that kind of derails them. They could have potentially contended and been in the mix for these last 2 years, but injuries and the timing of those injuries is everything. And now Bud's out of a job. All these dudes, coaches that have seemingly been on good ground,
Right.
and the next thing you know, they're fired. I mean, in my estimation, look, Alvin Gentry and Terry Stotts, that'll be at the front of the line for recycled coaches again.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's interesting. It's interesting that you brought up those coaches' names, because if you think about it, all of the coaches, the big name coaches that we saw just get recently fired, all of these guys have been to the finals.
Yeah.
All of them. Mike Budenholzer, Monty, obviously Doc Rivers back in 2008, right? Nick Nurse. Yeah. All these guys have been to the finals. I think the only one who did not win a ring was Monty Williams.
And Vogel chilling. He got
that's why I mean Vogel, he did his thing in 2020, but of course even after that they were just like, yeah, we don't want you on here anymore. And these are all guys who have been to the big dance, So it is, man, it's a tough league sometimes. It's a business, and it's unfortunate, but I mean, it is. I just wanted to bring that up because I was just thinking about that. Like, man, how are all these coaches that have taken teams to the finals without a job? I don't know.
And it's not even just anymore sticking to the NBA. You look at Doug Peterson with the Eagles, gone.
Yeah.
And Ed Orgeron, LSU, gone. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just the NBA thing. It's every sport. Hey, you won a title a couple years ago. That used to buy you 5-6 years of cool honeymoon. Mm-hmm. Hey, not anymore.
It's a what have you done for me lately type of world now. And when I say lately, I'm talking about within the last year. Mm-hmm. That's just it. If you don't perform within the last year, apparently it's all your fault and you're gone.
Yeah, literally. So, being a Nuggets fan, if you can allow yourself to fast forward. We know Mike Malone does not want to hear this. The team doesn't want to hear this. Keep all the outside look ahead and speculate. Keep that all away from us. Allow yourself to say the Nuggets have won 3 more and closed out the Lakers. First finals appearance ever.
Yep.
Who do you have a preference? Who you want to see out the East? Would you prefer Boston? Would you prefer Miami? And who would you want to see the Nuggets waiting to face?
If I'm being honest, like before the season started, there were 2 matchups that I looked forward to for the Nuggets, right? Because I kept telling everybody, even on my pod and just people, even on my Twitter, I kept telling them, like, if this Nuggets team is healthy going into the playoffs, I can definitely see us winning the whole thing, and I've been saying that from jump. And I remember people used to tweet me these little weird looking emojis like, dude, what is you talking about? Like, are you crazy? Like all these Warriors fans, Lakers fans, Bucks fans, Suns fans, everybody was just going crazy at me. And I was just like, all right, cool. I didn't say a word. I didn't respond to nobody. Like I just made my tweets and I just if I go back and be petty right now on my Twitter, it'll be hilarious. Because I know they already forgot they did, but I didn't, right? But before the season, I said there were 2 matchups that I would look forward to if the Nuggets were to make the finals. The Nuggets playing the Bucks and the Nuggets playing the Celtics. Those were the 2 teams that I had picked out, in terms of, and also just for a ratings purpose, the Nuggets and the Sixers, because of I wanted to see Jokic and Embiid go at it in a 7-game series, because I think too many people allowed that one game in February to change their mindset about these 2 players. And a lot of these guys are looking back at it like, wait, what did we do? Because Jokic is built like that, But for me, if I'm being honest, it would be the Celtics. I think the Heat would probably be the easier matchup if we got the Heat, because I'll tell you this, Nikola Jokic owns Bam Adebayo. And I'm telling you this now, because every time, if you look back at just the most recent games that Jokic has played against the Heat, he dominates them every single game. So in that particular matchup, yes, Jimmy's there, but I don't think they'll have enough to beat the Nuggets with just Bam and Jimmy. And I mean, Kyle is obviously a champion. I know they have like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin. They got some guys. But I think in that series, not having Tyler Hero is going to hurt them. because you need that bench depth to really go against. Because Duncan Robinson is probably the most inconsistent player in the NBA right now. But I would love to see the Celtics because I don't want excuses, right? Like I want to play the best. And the Celtics are probably the best team that's available right now. And I want to play that team. I want to see Jokic go up against that juggernaut of the Celtics with Tatum and Brown and Smart, Horford, Williams, the other Williams. Like I want to see them just really, I want them to play that team. So honestly, I'm not scared, man. I want the Celtics. I want the Celtics. Yeah.
All right. So we'll find out how that game one goes here shortly. So
we shall see.
How did you become a Nuggets fan?
Ooh, man, I always enjoy telling people this story. So I did not grow up in the US. Like I mentioned to you prior to the show, like I'm originally from Trinidad, so I'm not a Colorado native. But I've been a Nuggets fan for 23 years. Okay. Now, mind you, I'm 32 now, so that should tell you everything you need to know. When I was living in the Bahamas, I was in high school over there, and a lot of the people that, mind you, I grew up a soccer fan, so all I knew is, but for us, it was just football. Like that's all it's, it was just, not soccer but football. And all my friends at the time in the Bahamas, everybody was a basketball fan. Nobody watched soccer in the Bahamas, even though it's a Caribbean country. They didn't necessarily watch soccer or even follow it. They didn't even care about the sport, truth be told. So they were always talking about the Lakers, always talking about the Celtics, talking about the Sixers at the time, because this is right around the time with Allen Iverson, right? So, 2000, 2001. And, of course, the Chicago Bulls. Those are the teams that everybody was talking about. And the way my dad raised me was like, don't be a follower, right? Like, don't be one of those people that just goes with what everybody else is doing. Find your own path. So I've kept that on my mind ever since I was a kid. So I remember asking him, I was like, yo, all y'all talking about these other teams and whatnot. Tell me give me 3 teams in the league that are trash right now. Seriously. I'm like, give me some teams that are just horrible. And at the moment, I think they had mentioned the Clippers. They mentioned the Nuggets and somebody else. I can't remember who it was. When I was like, the Nuggets? What? Why would you name a team the Nuggets? I was like, hold on, this don't even make sense. But I was like, okay, you know what? Hold on. No, I've never heard anybody bring up the Nuggets before. So, you know what? Maybe that might be the one. That might be the team right there, because I thought the name was cool and all this stuff. I thought it was like interesting. And then I started looking at the team stuff online and whatnot. And it's like you seeing these names like Vashawn Leonard and
wow,
throwback, right? Throwback, And it's around the time like very upcoming after that, you started to see Earl Boykins and all these different guys, right? But I was like, you know what, man? Let me rock with the Nuggets, and that's how I became a Nuggets fan, just because they were bad. I wanted to root for a team that had never won a championship. I wanted to be on the ride to see when this was actually going to happen, right? And that's how it was for me. Like, I'm also very similarly, I became a St. Louis Blues fan in 2014 for the most random, but because I like the logo. I love music. You talked about me singing, right? So I love music. When I saw the little blues note, dude, I was like, oh, that's my team right there.
Wow.
And then 5 years later, I was able to watch them win a championship, watch them win a Stanley Cup in 2019. So that's what I want for the Nuggets. I want to see the Nuggets, because I've been a Nuggets fan for so long now. Like, I want to see a championship now, and this is our window, so we cannot take this for granted.
So that answers a question I was going to ask, because you answered a lot. Because the bio, everybody follow. I got Jeremy Nicolls, got your Twitter right there. Scroll, following. You got it right there in your underneath the screen. The bio. I was like, okay, Nuggets, Broncos.
Yeah.
Like, why not Avalanche and Rockies? I'm like, why does he have St. Louis, have Denver? Wait a minute, because most people, which I'm from a small town, and Kentucky has no pro teams anyway. Yeah. So, Kentucky Wildcats is everything in our state. But a lot of times people move to a city and eventually adopt all the teams. You move to Houston, you end up liking the Rockets, the Astros, the Texans, wherever you go. I'm like, well, this dude is Denver, and then, oh, wait a minute, St. Louis. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it's really interesting because how I actually became a Blues fan. I was playing NHL 14, right? NHL 14 on Xbox 360 because I was dominating people on 2K, right? Smacking everybody on 2K. And one of my friends was like, all right, well, you good at 2K, but I bet you can't play no hockey. And I'm like, okay, like I've played hockey. Now, mind you, I used to play like hockey online. I remember playing, when they would just get like the old PC games, the ones on CD, where you just throw that thing in there and it just. I remember playing because I lived in Ohio for a year and I had NHL 2000 on a PC CD, and I used to play that for a little bit, right? But I remember. So he challenged me. He was like, "I bet you can be good at hockey." So I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, if you think so, then let's see." And I ended up getting NHL 14, and I started playing that like crazy, and I actually became pretty good. But scrolling through the teams, like it asks you like, what is your favorite team? And I'm like, I don't know. But I'm scrolling through, and I was like, ooh, I like this little Blues note. And then I remember asking them, I was like, have the Blues ever won like a championship? And they were like, no.
Wow.
I was like, there it is. That's my team. That's my team. So that's how it was. And then the baseball, like the Cardinals, that ended up coming after the fact because like I used to go to Yankees games when I lived in New York. I used to like go to Mets games and stuff from time to time, so I've always been a part of just sports in general, but I never really had a baseball team. But then I, just like you said, I was just like, all right, cool. I got 2 Denver teams and 1 St. Louis team. Why not make my baseball team St. Louis too? Let's just split it right down the middle and just go that way. Because I'm like, I don't know if I want to run with them Rockies, man. So I just went, I went with the Cardinals, and I was just like, all right, cool. So that's how it was for me.
The Rockies snuck into one World Series. Come on, man.
I mean, listen, dude. It's all good, man. Nah, it's all good. One of my friends used to talk about like Albert Pujols all the time, and I remember just like watching his games. I was like, dude, that dude is amazing, man. Of course, watching his last season last year, where he was playing and he did hit that 700 home run. When he got to that spot. I remember people were like, man, is he even gonna pull this off?
Right.
I was like, dude, Albert, every time he gets hot, man, he was hitting 2 home runs in most of those games, So it was cool to watch him do that for his last year and actually get that done. So that was real dope, man.
Yeah, and it was his decision. My opinion don't matter. But if he had stayed in St. Louis, I mean, where they know their sports, they know their guys, from Stan Musial to Lou Brock to Ozzie Smith. If he had stayed in his entire career there, because to be honest, he went to Anaheim, and I never saw him anymore. Out on the West Coast,
you didn't hear much about him at all.
For 10 years, we never saw him. So if he had stayed in St. Louis, no matter how good or bad they were, and consistently they're gonna be pretty good every year. This the first year I've really seen him struggle. And the first time that I can remember, what the Cardinals in last place? What is going on? What is?
Yeah.
So if he had, did all that in St. Louis for that length of time, he's a Hall of Fame anyway. But he would have been. He's already revered, but he would have been.
Yeah, he would have been next level. Level. Yeah, for sure.
Know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Tell us real quick too. I know you wear so many hats. You're a photographer as well. Is it sports photography, action, nature? What do you photograph? How'd you get into it? Is this a side hustle where people can go check out your work, or you can promote? Just tell us about that too.
Yeah, so I actually got into videography first. And that was just kind of growing up in the church. I wanted to find some other things to do because of course I was singing and whatnot. But I was just like, man, let me find something else that I could do. I'll be real with you. This is just me being 100%. I did it because I was just like, okay, if I'm holding a camera in the middle of the church, that means all the girls gonna see me. All right. So, all right, cool. Then I went to the media department. I was like, I want to learn how to do camera work. And they put me on video cameras and I got pretty good at it. I actually ended up going to the Art Institute of New York City, both me and my sister. So studied film and video production there. And from that, I think just the understanding of lenses, understanding, just cameras in general, right? That made me pick up a digital camera. Just wanted to understand how the DSLRs work, just regular, like just film cameras. Like I wanted to just really learn the whole genre. And that's from, I would have people just hand me cameras and I would just take pictures because I didn't own a camera at the time. I'm still, 16, 17, and I'm still just taking pictures and stuff. But now, I've upgraded to a pretty decent space now, multiple cameras myself. And right now I work for like multiple churches and organizations who kind of just call me to come in and like do events. So I would do photography for like banquets and weddings and different things like that. Currently working on my website right now. It is going to be jeremynicolls.com. So you'll be able to book like photography and music and everything. I have my web designer working on that as we speak. So I'm glad you brought that up. But so I do a little bit of everything, honestly. Like I just got back from doing videography and some photography at a sports event for my daughter's school. They had a little sports day, and they wanted me to come in and just get some shots and some video for the kids and everything. So that's really what I do. My daughter is one of the biggest reasons I do this, right? I get a chance to really do photography and stuff. And then of course, whenever I'm doing my mentoring stuff, I get to take my camera and, I'm helping teaching the boys how to understand cameras and understand video editing, things like that. So everything I do right now is just kind of tied into everything else, and I love it.
Man, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Got to shift it to your Broncos real quick.
Yeah.
Sean Payton. Sean Payton coming in. You talk about what have you done for me lately. Year one for Russ didn't go well. Coach Hackett, it didn't. It was a bad marriage. So, what are the expectations? Well, I mean, Sean comes in with a good resume, won a title, good coach.
Right.
Everybody expecting a turnaround. What would make you happy for year one? I don't know about the rest of the fan base out there, but for you personally, what would you like to see?
Yeah, for me personally, listen, man, I just need to see the Broncos at least make it to the playoffs again, right? Like I whatever that looks like, 10-7. Like I need the Broncos to stop being the laughing stock. I think that's what it is because as much as I don't want to say that, like we have been one of the laughing stocks of the league for probably the past 8 years. Right. Like just about right. Ever since the Super Bowl win, and right after that, you go what 9-7 the year after or whatever with Trevor Siemian at the helm, obviously a positive season, but that was the last time we had a positive season.
Right.
So every year after that, like we had so many different quarterbacks from Mark Sanchez to Case Keenum. We had, I think Brock Osweiler was in that mix, and then you had this guy, that guy, Joe Flacco. Like, bro, there was no consistency. There was nothing. The amount of quarterbacks that came into Denver and just like are no longer there is kind of insane, right? So
with a Hall of Fame quarterback running the show, that's
right? Right. And of course, I think with Elway not being there now, I think everything kind of just starts everything fresh, new ownership now with Rob Walton coming in and, taking up that mantle now. And so they got unlimited money, so they could really just do anything at this point. Like you mentioned, bringing in Sean Payton, obviously we know what he did in his New Orleans days and, taking them to that championship. And we know what he can do as a coach. He's a really good quarterback whisperer, right? Like a lot of people, like you saw, like he had moments even with like Teddy Bridgewater when he was over there, even as a backup, and Drew Brees went down, and Teddy's out there balling, going 5-0, and all these different things. Like Sean Payton knows what he's doing, and I think what he is gonna bring to this team now is that no nonsense, thing that I think Vic Fangio tried to do, but in reality, Vic Fangio didn't necessarily know what he was doing. Like he's a defensive guy. Like that's just all it is. And he's a really good defensive coach if that's all you give him. You give him 100% of his time to focus on defensive plays, defensive schemes. He is amazing. But when you need him to start making in-game decisions with timeouts and different and come on, man, that is not his thing. Nathaniel Hackett, same thing. Same situation, offensive mind, awesome. He worked really well with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Obviously, they were friends. And truth be told, the only reason he got hired was because they thought that we would get Aaron Rodgers to be the quarterback. That's all it was. So we kind of just got stuck with him. Hey, as tough as it sounds. And even going back, we had, Vance Joseph, and of course he's back now, which is kind of insane, but we'll see. We shall see how that looks. But if I'm being honest, man, all I need is the Broncos to make the playoffs. Whatever that looks like, I don't care. Even if we are a wild card team, just give me the playoffs. I want to see the Broncos in a winner takes all situation, right? I'm tired of, oh man, we're missing the playoffs by like 3 games once again. Yeah. So make the playoffs. I'm happy. I don't care if they don't win the game. Just get back in there and start building on that. That's all I want.
There you go. Tough division, but hey, you got
tough division. Don't I know it?
Gotta jump in there and claw your way ahead of somebody somehow. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned all the venues you've been to in New York and everything, but first of all, tell us about Ball Arena for those who've never been to Denver. The city, the arena, the atmosphere. I mean, it was popping last night there. Been popping all playoffs.
Yeah.
How many games do you catch there, and just what's the vibe like in Denver?
Well, I'll tell you, I used to catch a whole lot more before I moved out to Colorado Springs, right? Like, because I used to live really close to downtown Denver. So when I moved to Colorado in 2015, I would go to games like, almost every other week, multiple times. Like I would just go. So, and that's of course when it was the Pepsi Center, right? So at that moment, I'm there so often. The vibe was still crazy, but I'll tell you, it's not what it is now, because when I first moved to Colorado, man, the team wasn't good. Okay. The team was not a good team. And I remember the first time I went to the first Nuggets game that I went to in Denver was the night that I moved to Colorado. I remember we played the Pelicans at the time. I remember watching that game. And then a couple weeks later, because I also got to see Kobe's last game in Denver.
Oh, man.
I was at that game, sitting in the nosebleeds, but I'll tell you, man, that place was packed, packed. That was an insane one. But even throughout the years, just watching the Nuggets play the Warriors, play the Lakers, these storied franchises, and of course, with the Warriors being so good at that moment, you would always hear the crowd go crazy when the opposing team would score. I would always think it was a Warriors home game or a Lakers home game, but now it's a different vibe. Now you like all the Nuggets fans are coming out of the woodworks because now they're a good team, right? So now the whole place is packed, and like the vibe in downtown is beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Like they got a lot of different breweries and different things right in the area, and a lot of people just either they stay at the bars and watch the games there, or they shuffle over to Ball Arena and watch it live. So it's dope, man. It's you definitely can feel a totally different vibe in the city now because the team is good. So I think it's a different energy. I think like even last season with the Avalanche, winning the Stanley Cup, and I think now that just Colorado itself is just kind of hungry for another one. So I just need to see it happen, man. My first year moving to Colorado, the Broncos won the Super Bowl, and I ain't felt that way ever since. So I'm hoping that this is the year that I get to see it happen, but it's dope, man.
The Broncos got you one. The Blues got you one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So you're waiting for?
I have to see the Cardinals win one. Okay. I know they've won in the past, but it's like but I want to witness it like now. You know what I mean? Like so Broncos 2015/2016, Blues in 2019, the Nuggets TBD, right? We got to see if they could pull this off, and we'll see, man. But I would love to see the Cardinals. It's probably not the year, not the way they've started so far. I think maybe 17 and 24 at this moment, or 17 and 26, something like that. Because I know we had started off, we were 10 and 19. Because I remember doing a show talking about that, and I know we were 10 and 19 at the time. Lost the game last night against the Brewers. I know, but the game prior to that, we beat them 18-1. And like Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman, like all these guys came out going crazy. But they did lose last night in a much more defensive game. And I think they play again pretty soon. But it's gonna be interesting, man. I just want to see my teams win, man. Like I just want to see it happen in my lifetime. That's it.
I got you.
That's
I
it.
got you. Last thing before I let you go, man, what can your listeners expect on the next episode of the Denver Hoops and Dreams podcast, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We actually have an episode that we're going to be doing later on tonight, but we will be recapping game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, the Nuggets and Lakers. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to preview game 2 and talk about some interesting things that we picked up from the game last night. Talk about the fact that Laker fans truly believe they found a pot of gold because they saw the fourth quarter happen and how they came back. And then it's like, so you mean to tell me only one team can adjust? Like, that's all I'm hearing. It's like, oh, look, the Lakers found out how to slow down Jokic with Rui and Anthony Davis moving around. Okay, that's awesome, but y'all do know that there's adjustments for the Nuggets to make too, right? So just because you think you found something, it doesn't mean there's not a counterplay for it, you know? So I think we're going to discuss that in detail tonight, but it's going to be fun, man. This is going to be a fun series. Before the series started, I picked the Nuggets in 7. So I expect this to be a competitive series. I don't expect this to be no easy walk in the park, nothing. Like, I know the Lakers are dangerous. Like, I'm not going to discount them at all. They still have LeBron. They still have Anthony Davis. Austin Reeves has been balling. You know, I mean,
Lonnie Walker
comes off the bench and can go crazy. Rui Hachimura has had some moments too. Even Dennis Schroeder, right? Like, they got some guys. D'Angelo Russell, he had some moments in the last series. So they got weapons, and I respect that. And I think it's going to be a fun one, man. This is going to be a long series, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, man, good stuff. Jeremy, man, appreciate you hopping on here for the first time. Got to get you back on again down the road, man, maybe during the finals or sometime in the summer for the...
Hey, if I'm back on here in the finals, man, you know I'm happy. So, yeah.
I definitely appreciate it. Everybody check out the podcast, Denver Hoops and Dreams. And
yes, sir.
Appreciate you taking the time, man. Really enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure, bro, for sure.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you much.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy Nicolls, everybody. First guest in here. First time on the show. Appreciate that. Our second guest is back there in the green room. Friend of the show. Going to talk a little UK baseball. And last time we were on, we kind of got a little bit of trouble because all we talked was baseball. So we got to talk some other topics as well. So I'm not trying to be in Coach's doghouse. Talking about the former UK baseball coach. You can still hear him on the radio talking during the games with Dick Gabriel and others at Kentucky Pride Park as often as he can possibly be. The season is almost slipped by us. We got one more home series with those Gators. We got Keith Madison. Coach, how you doing, sir?
Vinny, I'm doing great. How are you?
Can't complain. Appreciate you hopping on in here this evening.
Absolutely, man. I got one complaint, though.
Uh-oh.
What are you wearing red for?
It is not Louisville at all. I'm a Houston Rockets fan. And I just put my little, and they had a terrible season, but they got the, I think, 4th pick in the lottery last night. So I just put my little Rockets up. No, nothing Louisville about me, nothing orange about me. And that's, I don't even wear Cincinnati Reds red. This Rockets red. Or when my Braves wear the alternate red jerseys, that's about the only red I pull for because I'm a big Braves fan. So
I can accept that.
On Sunday, they would sometimes wear those red alternates, and I really like that look when they wear those.
Yeah, me too.
How you been doing? How you enjoying this season?
I've been doing fine. I've been watching a lot of baseball. When I can't be there, I try to listen to Darren Hedrick on the radio or watch Dick Gabriel and Doug Flynn on SEC Network Plus or any of the stations that carry the games. But I'm at most of the home games, and I've got a speaking engagement tomorrow night, so I won't be able to be at the first Florida game, but I'll be at the second two, and I'll be helping my buddy Darren Hedrick in the radio booth those 2 games.
Yeah, it's always good to hear y'all, and I'm glad you're still there, giving your insights. And this season came together more road wins than anybody. What was your expectations coming in? Because you knew it was going to be a a portal team, put the roster together, a lot of new pieces. So what were you expecting when you saw this team coming together?
There are two answers to that. One, my hopes. I had hopes and expectations, and my hopes were that this portal team would come together, and that's not always easy to do. When you get guys from different programs coming in and they're a little bit mature, they have their own philosophy and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's hard to pull those guys together. My expectations were that I just hoped that Kentucky could be at least 500 in the SEC, which at the time, at the beginning of the season, I thought, man, that's going to be a tall mountain to climb because the league is so good. But I tip my cap to Nick Mingione and his staff for evaluating their team. Once they got them together in the fall, they evaluated that team and they said, hey, I think we have a chance to be good at this style of baseball. And it was the running game. It was the small ball, as some people call it, bunting runners over, hit and run, stealing bases. And they have excelled in those things. And because of that, they're over 500, and they may even get to host a regional.
Yeah, unbelievable how, like you said, it came together. Your different style of play, unique, and everybody's buying in. The way they've been able to execute for most of the season it's just been fun to watch.
No doubt. I remember when Texas A&M came in to play Kentucky at Kentucky Proud Park. Texas A&M had not sacrificed bunted once all season, and this was a little past mid-season. And Kentucky was leading the league in sacrifice bunts, and they were the top 3 in the nation in sacrifice bunts. So, but then I looked at another statistic, Vinny. Kentucky was last in the league in hitting into double plays. And Texas A&M was first in the league in hitting into double plays. Why? Because Kentucky really executed the bunt game, and they score a lot of runs by small ball. You don't have to. I mean, they hit some home runs. Don't get me wrong. It's I think they're last in the league in home runs, but they still have some pop in the lineup. But man, they're so exciting to watch because they can score in so many different ways. And for me, that's fun to watch. I love watching the long ball like everybody else, but also enjoy watching guys really execute, get the bunt down or steal a base or read a ball in the dirt that the catcher doesn't come up with cleanly. They read that properly, take second base. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And the way the season started off, I mean, you're 8-1 in the league right off the bat. I think the only loss was there at Alabama, and you almost had that one when you swept them. And so they just continue to stack wins. A dramatic improvement in the midweek games that kind of bit them last year. They weren't losing to teams in the midweek. And then it got to, which is the SEC, as you know. You coached in the league forever. Just like in football, where you'll see, at Georgia, at LSU, and then here comes Florida. Well, then you got to that Tennessee, South Carolina gauntlet, the rough portion of the schedule, and everybody, talking heads, fans, let's stack as many wins as we can before the schedule gets tough. Got a little bit tough, and you start to wobble, and then they turn around and sweep South Carolina. I mean, unbelievable.
Man, that was so good to see, Vinny, because they go to LSU. LSU's ranked number 1 in the nation, and that's a hostile environment. I mean, it's in college baseball. I can't think of a place that's more hostile because the fans are so passionate about their baseball down there. They'll pack in, 8,000-10,000 fans, and they're loud. And so, they came out of there with a win, which was okay. I'll take that. And then they hit that rough patch, and everybody started doubting again. And then South Carolina comes in, as you mentioned, ranked 3 in the nation, number 3 in the nation, and we swept them. And that got me fired up.
Oh, just, and took it to him. No flukiness. No, I mean, just whooped him.
They just outplayed them, and just, it's almost like South Carolina came in here expecting to win, and then all of a sudden Kentucky starts, they start doing their thing. They start running the bases with reckless abandon. They start drag bunting and push bunting and hitting a gapper here and there. And all of a sudden, South Carolina was sort of stunned. It was like they had that deer in a headlight look, and then Kentucky just took over. And then more recently, of course, we go to Tennessee, and Tennessee's red hot.
Yeah.
And in their ballpark, they are a force to be reckoned with. Because they have good power, and that ballpark plays small. So they hit a bunch of home runs against Kentucky Friday and Saturday, and then Kentucky comes out on Sunday and hits 3 or 4 home runs of their own and shuts them out.
Yeah.
And shutting out Tennessee at Lindsey Nelson is a hard thing to do, because those boys can hit, and it's a smaller ballpark, and the ball carries well there. And so and it was a fascinating game, Vinny, in that shutout, our pitchers kept getting in trouble, but they pitched out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just showed me a lot of guts. I know Darren Wilson pitched out of loaded bases jams a couple of times. So it was a fun game to watch. I was on the edge of my seat, and was so excited when they won that one. And of course, when you win that Sunday game, it kind of gives you some momentum for the week. And so I was talking to Coach Mingione this morning, and their pitching coach, Dan Roselle, and they feel like they've had good practices. They feel like they're ready for Florida. Florida's good. They're like a lot of other teams. Florida may be the best team in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now going in the SEC tournament, who knows? It's been LSU. It's been Florida. It's been Arkansas. It's been Tennessee for a while, just red hot. And now Florida is the team, because I think they swept Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt was the team for a while.
Yeah.
So there's about 6 teams in the mix that could win a national championship, in my opinion.
So when you go to Hoover, and you went to many SEC tournaments, the Hoover Met down there, big park. How do you think that plays as far as Kentucky's style of play with this particular team?
Vinny, it plays perfect, because Kentucky Proud Park plays big. It's a big ballpark, and that's one of the reasons I think Coach Mingione wisely went to the style of baseball they're playing this year, because it's hard to hit the ball out of that ballpark. And Hoover is even bigger. And so I think teams like Tennessee, and I'm not saying they're not going to hit home runs, but it's going to be a lot harder. Teams like Tennessee and LSU that rely on that power, and Florida is one of those teams that relies on power. It's going to be a little bit tougher, whereas Kentucky, if they play their game and play it well, they have a chance to go in and win that tournament.
That's amazing. And so the park doesn't matter with this style of play. I mean, it can be the most cavernous park. It can be the tiniest bandbox. That style of play just travels. They say defense travels, but this style of play offensively, I guess, travels too.
It does. And it's like you hear in every sport, speed kills. and this team, they're leading the SEC in stolen bases, which I love to see that. I love that style of baseball where you put pressure on the defense. And they do it well. And so they've got, I think they have 3 guys that have over 18 stolen bases. They got a bunch of guys that have stolen like 11 or 12 bases. So everybody in the lineup, except for maybe one guy, is a threat to run. So I watch the opposing pitchers and the way they try to hold the Kentucky base runners on, and they have, it takes them out of their game a little bit. Because if you're worried about that guy on first base, you're not going to throw as many strikes. Or if you do throw a strike, you might miss a little bit out over the plate, and somebody hits one in the gap on you. So it's been very effective. And And again, I tip my cap to Coach Mingione and his staff for really realizing what kind of team they have, and also I give a lot of credit to the players themselves, because we're in an era of baseball, as you well know, where everybody talks about the long ball. It's okay to strike out as long as you hit home runs. Well, it took some courage for those players to say, hey, we're going to buy into this. We're going to execute. We're going to be that team that puts pressure on the defense. We're not going to worry about home runs. We're going to put the ball in play. If the home runs come, great. If they don't, we're going to score in other ways. And so they're unselfish players. And that's what you want to see in every sport.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now, what are your thoughts on the rules changes? I know MLB's moved to them. College still hasn't, but the pitch clock and the batter's got to be in the box, and can only throw over a couple times. All the new changes. What are your observations or likes or dislikes?
Yeah, Vinny, some of them I like and some of them I don't like. I like the clock on the pitcher, the pitch count, the pitch clock. I like, the umpires getting the hitters in the box to hit. I do not like the limiting the throw to first base, because it's a license to steal.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine Ricky Henderson? At first base, and he takes a one-way lead and he gets him to throw over a couple of times. And what's he going to do on the third? He's going to take a gigantic lead and he's going to burn them.
Yeah.
To me, these rules have to be made by people that really don't know that much about the intricacies of baseball and how the game is played. It's made by people that really haven't played the game. The bigger bases, I don't totally get it. If it prevents a couple of injuries during the season at first base, I do get it. That's good. But that's just, to me, it's almost a change to be changing. I don't know. I'm not a real fan of most of the changes. I do like speeding the game up with the clock. I think it's a better game for the fans, for the players themselves. As far as I'm concerned, I'm so old school. As far as I'm concerned, you could do away with the walk-up music and give the guys, 5 seconds to get from the on deck circle to the plate. I'm good with that. But I'm a dinosaur.
So, excuse me. So yeah, I was, I guess, kind of balking against all of it. The pitch clock and all that hasn't been as annoying as I guess I thought it was going to be. I'm the guy, it's not like I have a deadline to write an article, or I'm a press guy that wants to leave and get your story done. If I go to the ballpark and the game lasts 5 hours, that's what I went for. I knew there was no time limit when I went. It's not like I'm crunched for time when I go to the game. So it's going better than I thought. But I'm with you on the throwing over. The chess game. My move to first is great. You're a great base stealer. Let's see what we can do. Or you mentioned Ricky Henderson. What if you got to put Rodriguez behind the plate and he can throw the first from his knees? Absolutely. All of that is eliminated now to me.
Yeah, see, part of it, to me, that's a special and important part of the game. And you said it perfectly when you call it a chess game. If you're a real baseball fan, you enjoy watching those kinds of things and seeing, thinking that, hey, Pudge he's going to let him get off a little bit and then he's going to nail him, or and you can almost think along with them. But I don't know, some of the rules committee or whatever, a lot of those people, they really don't appreciate the game in its purity. And baseball is never going to be the NBA. it's never going to be the NFL. They're all totally different games to be enjoyed in their own special ways. I enjoy football a ton, I enjoy basketball a ton, but the basketball, it's up and down the court. It's a quick game. You could pretty much set your clock on when it's going to end.
Yeah.
And all that. Baseball, like you said, it's not like that. It's something to, put your feet up and enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
And
Exactly.
don't worry about it. And so I'm with you on that. Like I said, some of the rules I think have helped. Some of them to me are kind of a joke, I think.
Yeah, and just real quick on that, like the second major league game I ever went to, me and Dad, who we went up to Cincinnati. Of course, I was a Braves fan. He was a Mets fan, but we just went to Cincinnati just for the heck of it, right? And it's 1990, the year the Reds won the whole thing. The Reds are playing the Pirates. They end up meeting later in the league championship series. But if it wasn't Rijo and Drabek, whoever it was a pitcher's duel. It's my first time in Riverfront. I'm 12. I'm just kind of getting the feel for the park. I'm looking around. And before I know it, it's already like the sixth inning because it's 1, 2, 3 innings. These guys are dealing. And now I'm kind of upset. I'm like, man, this game's going to be over soon. Because
Yeah.
We go to Cleveland for a family reunion in 99. It's interleague. Cleveland's playing the Reds. I think Manny Ramirez hit 2 home runs that day. It goes like 15 innings and Cleveland walks them off. It lasts forever. And, it's 4 hours long. You enjoy it. You get that wide range in baseball.
That's right.
You get up. It can be 1 hour, 58 minutes. It can be 4 hours and 12 minutes. You never know.
That's right. Yeah. And one of the things I love about baseball is that there is no limit on the time. If a guy, if it's the bottom of the 9th inning and you're 2 runs down and there's men on second and third and there's 2 outs and you're hitting, gosh, you could foul a ball off 6 or 7 times if you're a good hitter like a Pete Rose or a Rod Carew or Tony Gwynn. And there's no clock. You just keep battling. And I love that aspect of the game, and that's why the walk-offs are so much fun. They're because the players earn it. The clock does not beat you.
That's true.
The only thing that's going to beat you is that other team.
Now the walk-offs. Do you like seeing the walk-offs when you start already with a guy on second?
No. No. Being a former pitcher, it's like, okay, man, this is a great game, and we're in extra innings, and you're penalizing me for no reason.
Yeah.
That'd be like, going into overtime and saying, you can't play defense beyond the 3-point line or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. If the way I look at it, if you don't want to watch extra innings, go home. Or turn your TV off.
Yeah.
But let the game be played the way it's supposed to be played. I get really fired up about that. My buddy Doug Flint and I talk about that a lot. He's even more angry about that kind of thing than I am, because he played in the big leagues for 14 years or something, and he thinks that people are ruining the game by trying to make it like other sports.
Yeah.
And I agree with him to a large extent.
And last thing, I'll let you go. Speaking of other sports, like you love basketball, you love football. If I can't dribble with my left hand, you're gonna sit on my right side and force me left. If I can't get off press man coverage, you're gonna bump and run me to death and I'll never catch a pass. So with the shift, do you wish they still allowed the shift, or were you screaming, hey, hit the ball the other way when you got the entire left side open? Where did you come out on that?
I'm screaming hit the ball the other way. And if you're not willing to do that, then let somebody else hit. You know, I mean, again, I love watching, guys like Barry Bonds or I go way back to Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays. I love those guys hit the long ball. Hank Aaron, Willie McCovey, all those guys. But there comes a time and a place when you play to win the game for your team, and you don't try to jack one out. You go the other way. That's being done in college baseball. They put the shift on, like Tennessee beat Kentucky on the shift twice this past weekend. Big power hitters. They saw an opportunity and they just poked the ball to left field, a left-handed hitter. I remember thinking, man, that guy, he's giving it up for the team. So, yeah, and I just, I think college baseball is probably going to do away with the shift now because they follow usually what Major League Baseball does. And to me, you're teaching guys not to be a complete hitter. I mean, when I think of the complete hitter, I think of Tony Gwynn. Here's a guy that never struck out.
Yeah.
Now, he hit a few home runs. He didn't hit a lot, but he was a threat every time he came to the plate. You think, they put the shift on that guy, he'd kill him.
Yeah.
And Pete Rose was that way. Rod Carew was that way. There's been a lot of Hall of Famers that played the game that way. So we're giving in to, here's the way I look at it, Vinny. Nothing against slow pitch softball, but baseball is baseball. It's not slow pitch softball.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just try to hit the ball out of the park all the time. You play the game. You play to win. And I think there's still guys in the big leagues that play to win. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot of guys that are, they know they're going to get paid more if they hit more home runs. And so they don't worry about the shift. They just try to hit it over the shift. Well, if I'm a pitcher, that guy's going to be that much easier for me to pitch to.
That's right.
But I guess, maybe I'm a dying breed. But I think baseball for years and years, it was one of the purest games, and it was a game that changed less than the other sports.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something cool about that. Well, now, we've got some guys wearing suits that are saying we're going to change the game. And there's a lot of people like me and Doug Flynn, a lot of people that played in the 70s and 80s that are saying, no, man, you're killing the game. So I'll get off that rant, but I wanted to let you know how I felt about it.
Absolutely. And just going back to Tony Gwynn real quick, as a Braves fan, his numbers against Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox were still off the charts. It was unbelievable.
This is because he didn't let the changeup beat him.
Mm-hmm.
He would go the other way. If they threw in the changeup, he'd just stay back and hit it the other way. Man, I respect that tremendously.
Yeah, unbelievable. Now, real quick too, just to get out baseball, we got tournament time coming up, but UK men's tennis is making another run again. Went to the championship last year, back again in the Elite Eight. So people who maybe just focused on football and basketball, we got other stuff happening that you can kind of get behind, right?
Absolutely. And I tell you, those guys are good. Tennis athletes, they don't look like basketball players or football players, and they don't even look like baseball players. But those guys are great athletes. They have quickness. They're in shape. It's fun to watch, and it's good to see Kentucky excelling in a lot of different sports. But tennis has been really strong for 2 years now.
Absolutely. So we're definitely looking to see what they do. And of course, it'll be, football time again. And before we know it, it'll be SEC Media Days, and we'll be hoping for 8-9 wins or whatever they're going to do. And we'll be looking forward to those fall Saturdays too, Coach.
As you know, Vinny, I love college football. It's one of my favorite things to watch. And I just think it's an incredibly exciting game, and it's a game. It's a sport that in my opinion, if you take away, all the, the NIL transfer portal, just forget all that, and just watch the athletes play football. It's so entertaining.
Yeah,
it is very entertaining. You never know. There's so many big plays that are possible in a college football game, and I like it. I like it better than the NFL because the NFL sometimes those guys they're almost too good sometimes.
Well, that's true.
And you can almost predict, that the pass is going to be completed. Well, college football is not that way. Sometimes a college football team has to rely more on the running game, or they rely more on their defense, and they grind it out. So yeah, it's I'm already looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna enjoy this tournament too. This series against Florida and this SEC tournament, and this postseason for Coach Mann and the Cats. And Coach, thank you for taking the time, and appreciate listening to you and ODH and Gabe. Been fun hearing y'all throughout the season, and looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
All right, Vinny. Fun talking to you, buddy. Take care.
Absolutely. You too, Coach. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Coach Keith Madison, 2 guests in, Jeremy Nicolls and Coach Madison. Appreciate Coach coming in and giving us some insight and thoughts on this team, how the game is going, how the season will play out. We got Hoover for the SEC tournament, got the final homestand against the Florida Gators, and how Coach Mingione had the foresight to go small ball in the fall as to the way he would craft this team and build this team, and how that style of play has paid dividends all season long. So thanks to Jeremy Nicolls and Coach Keith Madison. I'm a little bit stuffy. Sorry for sounding congested. Apologize for that. Got a little old cold here and I'm fighting. Again, hope TB feels better as well. Want to circle back to a couple things. Y'all remember last week we had Kenny Rice on from NBC Sports. And of course, we talked primarily about the Derby. Of course, he's on the Derby coverage, been a part of NBC Sports for years, and Olympics and all the cool assignments he had. Go back and listen to that episode if you didn't catch it. Go back and watch it on Roku or your YouTube. And it was a lot of fun talking with Kenny. We talked a little bit as well about Denny Crum, the longtime coach of the Louisville Cardinals, who passed away last week. Touched on a little bit. Would have loved to get into this with TB as well, with him being from Louisville and starting off the first couple of decades of his life as a Louisville fan. But I listened to a lot of tribute shows about Coach Crum. Jerry Eves has a show every morning on there in Louisville. Jerry played for Coach Crum at Louisville, was part of that 1980 championship team. So we had a lot of teammates on. Had Coach Crum's publicist, a lady that worked with him for 40 years in the athletic department. A lot of stories, a lot of reminiscing. Learned a lot of stuff that you just didn't know, because from my perspective as a Kentucky fan, Coach Crum, Coach Louisville, you saw him all day that Saturday when Kentucky and Louisville played. You wanted to beat Louisville. That's pretty much the extent of Coach Crum. They hate us. We hate them. You hope Kentucky beats Louisville. But, of course, as we all know, Coach Crum and Joe B. Hall had the radio show together after they retired, after being years of rivals as coaches in the blue v red rivalry. So just a lot of things you didn't really know, how good of a guy he was, how gracious he was with his time, the stories that his former players had. You knew the big names. You knew Darrell Griffith, Purvis Ellison, Felton Spencer, some of the guys that played for them, Mikey Walker, guys like that through the years. But to hear these guys say that Wes Cox was probably the best athlete that ever played for Louisville, I didn't know that. Stuff like that. And the connection to the history of the game at its infancy. Denny Crum was an assistant coach for John Wooden at UCLA. He left UCLA and came straight to Louisville. Sat as an assistant to the Wizard of Westwood for years. He's a California guy. It's his alma mater. He played him in the Final Four. Beat him in the 1980 championship game. So just the connection to history. Louisville has a lot of tradition, pretty much all in part to Denny Crum. You know, Coach Hickman and those guys before him laid some groundwork, but Denny put Louisville where it is as a top 10 program in the history of college basketball. Think about Joe B. Hall, who was an assistant for Rupp. Rupp came straight to Kentucky from Kansas. Right there, the direct links to the history of the game in its infancy. And Denny Crum did that coming from UCLA to Louisville. So just wanted to kind of touch on that last week. Didn't get to talk about Coach Crum as much because we were trying to get in a lot of derby talk with Kenny Rice. We'll get Kenny back on again sometime as well because I definitely enjoyed having him. I hope all y'all enjoyed it as well. And the thing about Denny Crum is that, excuse me, having a little sniffle again, is the thing about Coach Crum is that once he came to Louisville from the West Coast, from UCLA, he never left. He had lots of opportunities to go back to UCLA, to go to the NBA, but he loved Kentucky. He loved Louisville. He made Louisville his home, and he stayed there for his entire career, stayed there after he retired. So condolences to Coach Crum. You know, they had the celebration of life and the burial and all that earlier in the week. I just wanted to hit a little bit more on Coach Crum as well. My Rockets were in the running for the top spot in the draft. Victor Wembanyama from France is going to be the number one pick, and he is going to be going to Texas, but not to Houston. He'll be going to San Antonio as the Spurs won the lottery again. A transcendent big man is in the draft. The Spurs win the lottery. David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and now Wemby when they call his name here a few weeks from now. So let me get that in as well. Hope y'all enjoyed this show. Appreciate Jeremy Nicolls hopping on for the first time. Hope the Nuggets KO the Lakers. If it takes 7, fine. If they can do it in 6 or 5 or 4, that'd be wonderful. Get the Lakers up on out of there. Want to see Denver in the finals. See Joker, Jamal Murray, playing for a chance at a championship. Hope the Celtics get knocked out as well. Look, I grew up when it was Lakers and Celtics every year. So come on, Jimmy. I know Jeremy Nicolls wants to see the Nuggets face the Celtics because that's the best team available from the East in his opinion. I don't ever have to see Celtics and Lakers ever again. So I'm hoping for Nuggets and Heat in the finals. So come on, playoff Jimmy. Bam. Do what y'all do. You're a little bit undermanned, a little short-handed. Denver has the depth. You know, Tyler Hero would definitely help y'all out. But come on, Spoelstra. Do your thing. Knock Boston on out. Great episode, y'all. Appreciate the BS3 Network, Ben Sutter for letting us be a part of the network. If y'all want to advertise your business or product on the podcast, feel free to reach out to myself or TB or BS3 Network, bs3network.com. Hit that contact button and reach out. Lots of great podcasts, lots of great other shows that are on here. We promote them and talk about them, have guests from those other podcasts who have been on here, have great guests that are continuing to come on the show. We definitely appreciate it. Appreciate y'all taking the time to listen. Former man Terry T.B. Brown, y'all send him a little tweet, tell him he gets to feeling better. Definitely hope to have him back next week. My name is Vinny Hardy. Thanks again to Jeremy Nicolls, to the coach, Keith Madison. This has been another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. We will holler at y'all next week.